we're going to go over the SS3D workflow. To begin, we'll want to click here to start a new asset. That'll take you to this main workspace. And you have different categories for all the stages of 3D. So we're going to start with images, and we can drag this into the active workspace here and start making edits if necessary. We'll start by looking at the paint markup feature. For this, you can circle areas that you would like to edit and describe the changes you want. So we are going to type in remove steam and hit generate. Here's our result with the steam removed, and we're going to want to prep this to be a game asset. So one of the first things we need to do is adjust the pose to be in a T-pose. So I'm going to click the Make T-pose button, and we'll give it a little wait and take a look at the results. So here are the results of the T-pose. It will always generate two different options for you. One in a slightly more A pose in case the thighs are quite thick and connected together, and one in a more traditional T pose. So we're going to grab this one and generate some orthographic images. So here are results. We've got a front, a side, and a back view, and all of those as a unit could be sent into the high poly stage by clicking Send to Geometry, High Poly. This loads them in here, and by the 3 icon here, we can click and see that we have multiple views loaded. You can drag these around or delete them, and if you're back to one, it's just a single image. In most cases, the single image works just fine, if not better. The multi-view is handy if you have a really important silhouette or some important details on the back. Otherwise, you don't really need it. And so we have our image, and we're ready to generate a 3D model from it. So super high poly, click generate, and we'll see what we get. So here is what we got. The model is done, and it's looking pretty good, but we get to a point where we want to turn this into a game asset, and we're kind of stuck with the sculpture here. All of these parts are fused together, and that's not really a typical way you would approach a sculpture. So enter segmentation. We need to split this into parts, and we'll click segment mesh to do so and hit generate. There we go. This one takes a while, so while it's loading, you can actually go in and create other assets. You can work in tandem to have several things loading at once. That way you don't have to wait around while this thing is generating. So here's our results from the segmentation. As you can see, they're not quite perfect. This tech is always evolving, and so there may be some parts with overlap. That can be resolved by re-dynameshing in ZBrush to combine the two pieces. But for sculpting something like this, you can click the download button, and if you downloaded an FBX and loaded it into ZBrush, these would all show up as separate subtools, so they're ready to start getting a sculpt pass done on them. If you're more used to a Blender workflow, we have the Sculpt Levels button, and what that will do is take every single one of these pieces and generate a low poly mesh, adding sculpt levels and projecting on the high. So essentially, you can follow a ZBrush subdivision level workflow, but the Blender equivalent. That will let you sculpt quite a bit easier. So you click it, hit generate, it'll download a blend file for you for that one. Let's assume that work was all done, and we're trying to make a final game-ready mesh out of this. We'll click on Optimize Geometry, and we have our segmented model loaded in here. This Retopple Combine Groups is the first thing you'll want to click if you've got multiple parts on your mesh. This will pull up your model as well as a part list that you can highlight, and you can effectively choose which pieces will retopple together into one mesh and which ones will retopple into their own separate meshes. So the hat is 2 pieces, which is great for sculpting, but we want it to be 1 piece for the actual video game mesh. Likewise, we don't want the head and the jacket to be one contiguous mesh, so we'll keep those separate. So I'm going to click the jacket and the little pocket pieces here, and the hands, collar, and the shoes actually. So this can all be one mesh. To do so, we'll drag it into a group and we'll keep the head separate. So once you're happy with your configuration, you hit save and you can choose optimize low, medium, or high. This just relates to the density of the mesh. Typically high is a pretty good choice for this. And I'm going to hit generate. Alright, so here are our results. And we can see that the hat is a separate mesh, as is the head, and as are the rest of them. All kind of fused together here. This is an AI-based method that will kind of optimize with a mix of quads and triangles. And if you would like a really consistent, more even density of quads on your mesh, you could use instead this optimize custom button. That will give you a general poly count. If you really want it to be close to the poly count, you can disable quality over count. If not, keep that on. And there'll be an adaptive density that will typically just give you better results. Hard surface will work a little bit better for sharp angle changes, and X symmetry will ensure that the topo generated is symmetrical across the X-axis. If you have a fairly symmetrical mesh anyways, you can also use the mirror geometry feature to mirror your topology there as well. So the next step would be generating UVs. I'll hit the create UV button, although you could also just navigate up here on the top, and we're just going to hit auto UV. Once you've got your UV model, you're ready to texture. So I'm in the texture category here. I'm going to drag the UV model into our active workspace, and we can generate a textured model out of it. We're going to need an image to guide the model on how to be textured. So for that, I'm going to grab the original input image that was used to generate the model. Either one of these should work okay. So now we have an image and a model loaded in here. We're ready to generate a texture. The results here are going to be a little bit off. We currently have a realistic PBR option. It's very much tailored towards giving nice realistic textures, and quite soon we'll be adding a standard PBR that would do better for something like this that's a little bit more cartoony. So we'll give it a whirl and see what it brings back for us. Okay, so we've got our textured result here. Here's Mr. Rhino, and this can be imported straight into Unity. It can be thrown into Blender or your 3D package. Blender is one click from here with a quick little install, or you can download here and select your formats. If you choose FBX or GLB, your textures will be embedded in the model, so they'll come right in. If this was too many steps and you're looking for a more automated or simple path, then we have this Game Ready option. So unlike the other ones in Game Ready, you drop in an image and you click generate, and it will generate a realistic PBR asset. So this is a pipeline that is specialized more in realistic outputs, and it's an image straight to finished model. So for that, we're going to go ahead and create a new asset and an image, and I'll begin the upload. Got an image chosen here. We can go into Game Ready, load the image, select a texture size 2, 4, or 8K, and a poly count, and hit generate. So here is our result at 4K. We can go up to 8K and get double the resolution. So as you can see, capabilities are pretty high for a realistic look and getting a detailed texture. So this model could be downloaded GLB, thrown straight into Unreal Engine, and you could start generating assets that way.